What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for the Rising of the Shield Hero Season 3. This is episode 7 and 8, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So on at first, I didn't know what to think about episode 7 at first until episode 8 rolled around, and it turns out this is more of a follow up episode of what happened back in the first season.
Yeah, yeah, because if you remember in Season 1, I think they went up against this zombie dragon that they referenced in, I think it was episode 8. Or at least I guess the Sword Hero did. Which I had kind of forgotten about, but yeah, I guess that was what happened. Well, the character that gets introduced in I think it was episode 7 is somewhat related to that dragon.
Yeah, I think it was. Forgot. Uh, it's she's like a demi-human
Yeah.
uh girl, who supposedly had this like father daughter relationship with this dragon, but before Ren actually ended up killing it back in season 1. And this of course is more more of a follow up into Ren's storyline from the previous episode after he was taken in by Naofumi into his village. And obviously, like this demi-human girl, doesn't have any particularly liking for Ren in particular because he was responsible for killing the dragon in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, of course, at first you don't really know why she doesn't really like him, but yeah, in episode 8, of course, it makes sense why she wouldn't like him.
Yeah. So in episode 7, they find this dragon egg um that's been found nearby the village, and with the insistence of this demi-human girl, she insists that she and the shield hero take care of it, so it can
Oh,
eventually grow up
wasn't
and
there like
hatch.
some researcher woman? I forget what her name was, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think she calls herself Rat or
yeah, it was short
Ratoli.
for something like that. Yeah, like uh, I think it was like the queen who had assigned her, I guess, to help Naofumi in his village.
Yeah, supposedly to help something about monster breeding of sorts,
Yeah.
which of course is related to this dragon egg that they ended up finding. So most of episode 7, it's more of kind of a slice of life-ish type of episode in which we see everyone you know going up on with like their normal lives in the village. We also see Ren somewhat taking a liking to
Eclair.
Claire as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I I remember like I don't I feel like you mentioned before something about they have some kind of either like a friendship or relationship or something like that in the light novels or something. Uh
It was more of a rivalry of
yeah.
sorts at first because because Ren wanted to prove that he's a superior sword fighter than Eclair, and it was mostly explored in the light novel, which was shown initially it was shown during the Spirit Tortoise arc, but they never adapted it in the last season, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So I guess they're trying they're trying to get into this part with this season in particular, but I really wish it could have been explored a little bit more had they adapted this in the last season, but for whatever reason they didn't.
Yeah, I do kind of wish they had shown that because it would have felt like a more I guess a more natural progression of their relationship because the way it is in the anime it just seems like he starts to sort of have like a crush on her and that's really all there is to it. They didn't like I
Mhm.
mean, of course we see them training together, but we don't really get much of their interactions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't really get the whole like rivalry thing.
Yeah. There was also another funny scene in which Atla, one of the tiger twins, ends up sleeping with Naofumi. Um,
Yeah.
in bed, which of
I,
course they reference that this is not the first time, but there was also
uh,
something interesting that gets mentioned before this, in which Full mentions that that he always sings a lullaby to Atla, um, and of course they show like a little flashback snippet of what their mother looks like, who turns out to be human, and there's also another thing that I keep thinking about is that um, the former king also mentions that um, that Atla looks like his dead sister, which makes me think that both Atla and Full are related to this king.
It could be. Um, I mean, that would be an interesting twist if that's the case.
Yeah,
Because I
because
mean, the king's role seems to be more. I mean, he seems like he's going to be a more important character in this arc. So
yeah,
yeah, I feel
I
like
mean,
that
and
it might be something like that. Um,
yeah, because the queen mentioned that the king's sister was killed in the what was it the demi human realm of Siltveld, I think.
yeah,
And of course, he blames the previous Shield hero for that incident. And but of course, as we found out in the few episodes prior to this, when he laid out eyes on both Atla and Full, that Atla, of course, reminds him of his younger sister. So that leads
mm,
me to believe that it could be possible that his younger sister could be the mother of these two twins.
yeah. Um, but yeah, most of well, of course, like you said, they find that dragon egg, and the dragon egg ends up hatching, and the girl, the demi human girl, she basically decides to raise this like baby dragon who she calls like Galleon, uh, and and that's kind of how like I mean for a while Galleon's just kind of treated as their pet, until Galleon accidentally ends up like swallowing I think some kind of what was it like some kind of
It was
material or
the Emperor's Dragon's core that Naofumi
yeah
kept with him after defeating the dragon back in season one, which unfortunately causes him to grow and evolve into a more let's just say like a more demonic dragon, similar to like this, to the dragon they ended up fighting from the first season.
yeah
Which,
uh
yeah,
yeah and it's kind of here where I feel like the CG kind of rears its head again with because it really in my opinion didn't look that good when because it kind of transitions from hand drawn to CG at this point when he turns like when he after he swallows it and it I mean it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's not also kind of an eyesore I would say compared to everything else. But I
yeah,
mean, fortunately, it doesn't really show up that much. I mean, in the next episode, we do get quite a bit of CG too, but it doesn't look quite as bad. And there's also a lot more just hand drawn sequences, so it doesn't really. It's not really quite as bad as season two with the Spirit Tortoise, at least.
yeah. So, what happens in this episode is, of course, now Fumi and the others try to look for Galleon, who's continuously evolving and growing into a much bigger dragon. But at the same time, we see Philo being afflicted by the dragon's curse because because she was linked to him during the time when that happened, and over time, Philo's condition gets even worse to the point where she inevitably grows berserk and tries to attack Galleon. But unfortunately, Galleon ends up swallowing her whole, which of course doesn't sit well with Naofumi and the others. And
Hmm.
this I would say it leads into one of the best looking action sequences I believe in this season so far.
Yeah, it's the whole sequence is pretty impressive. So it's pretty much just all the characters fighting against the dragon, and I mean the animation looks pretty smooth. Like they're just kind of the camera kind of pans around the environment and just shows each character sort of doing their signature moves, uh, trying to it's trying to take down the dragon. And I mean the dragon first most of it he is CG, but then there are some parts where he's not. So it I would say yeah it's probably the best animation I've seen in this season is that and then the beginning of this season I guess where they were fighting in the arena.
Mhm. Yeah, so eventually, well, the demi-human girl tries to appeal to the dragon, like mentioning that they both have a father-daughter relationship. But of course, uh, the the Emperor Dragon's personality starts to emerge and reveals himself to be like a dragon that was a part of the other world that Naofumi and the others were back in season two. So he and of course the dragon uh eventually lands an attack which knocks out pretty much everybody else besides Naofumi. And then by the end of the episode, we see Naofumi, of course, trying to take on the dragon himself, and that's pretty much where it ends off from there.
Yeah, well, we also say the dragon had swallowed Philo, but the Philo is she's technically still alive, but she's just been, I guess, fused with him. But she's slowly dying because now Fumi sees her level going down. Um,
Yeah. So
but I think the dragon says something like if now Fumi activates his berserk mode that it because it like resonates with the dragon. Uh,
mhm.
so yeah, he's trying to get back control, but the dragon is like taking control of his shield, his abilities. Um,
Yeah, he somehow takes control of his of his curse shield of sorts and tries to remotely activate it,
yeah.
which of course causes Naofumi to nearly go berserk at one point. But yeah, so it looks like we're definitely getting. I guess you could say it's the finale portion of this story arc, and
Mhm.
hopefully we'll. I mean, I'm guessing like we'll probably move on to the other storylines with Itsuki, the bow hero.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be, I guess, the end of the season too, because we only have like 5 more episodes, I think.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, I mean, we kind of don't really know what's going on with mine and the bow hero.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so
obviously she's gonna play a role into what's gonna
yeah,
happen with Itsuki. Of course, there is that one other lingering plot point in which they continue to mention that they need to prepare to fight this spirit phoenix, but
I I feel like they're
unless
going to say that for like the very end, probably, and it'll probably if they
eh,
ever do like a season 4, I guess, or
it would
uh,
need to be a season 4 plot point because
yeah.
I don't see them having this enough time to really adapting that kind of like major storyline.
Well,
And
especially not with the pace that it's been going at so far, which
yeah,
I mean, I was afraid it was going to be too fast paced, but fortunately, like the pacing is, I would say it's mostly, it has slowed down significantly since what I thought it was going to be pretty fast paced in the beginning, but uh, yeah, I feel like especially in the middle, it started to slow down quite a bit. But now things are kind of picking up again. It feels like. Um,
yeah.
so, but I mean, I don't really expect it to be that rushed, if they're going to do all that. But
Yeah. I mean, overall, overall, this season has been somewhat of an improvement over season two. I mean,
yeah,
it's still not as good as season one, but at least they're going back, yeah, to redeveloping certain characters that were absent back in season two, especially now that they're trying to follow up on certain storylines that they skipped out on back in season one, particularly like with Ren uh joining Naofumi's group, and of course trying to redeem himself over his past mistakes.
yeah. I mean, it does feel like they're kind of trying to do what they can at least to address some of the things that were, well, some of the major plot points, I guess, that were skipped over in season 2. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I thought these last 2 episodes they're fairly decent. Um, only problem I had is just I feel like there's a little bit too much slice of life elements, and with the amount of episodes we have, I just kind of wish they would have progressed the plot a little bit more. Like I don't mind some of the more slice of life stuff, but um, I mean, and I feel like they're, at least it feels like they are trying to develop the characters a little bit more. But I don't know. It's just I think yeah, it's definitely an improvement over season 2, but like you said, it's just not nearly as good as season 1. It's okay. It's definitely, like I said, definitely better than season 2, but um I feel like I'm gonna have to wait until the whole season, everything's over to
I
really have
mean,
it.
another issue I have is both seasons 2 and 3 are both, like just 12, 13 episodes each, while season
Yeah.
1 is just literally 2 cores. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure, we do know that seasons 2 and 3 were developed at the exact same time, but why even split that into 2 separate seasons in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, I think yeah, it should be longer than what it is too. I think that's probably another issue. Um, it just seems like it probably should be 2 cores, but I don't think it will. But I don't think it will be. Um, but but I don't really have too much else to say about the episodes, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it's one of the I think it's one of the better episodes of the season so far.
Yeah.
With how good the animation quality with the with the fight sequence against the dragon. I think it's like one of the better fight scenes they had since I think it was like, the season 1 battle against the Pope. Um
Oh yeah.
so yeah, definitely I think it was one of the better fight scenes so far.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Like I said, it's one of the best fight scenes I've seen from season three, especially. Um. But yeah, I guess we'll. I mean, hopefully it just keeps getting better. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, guys. That all being said, until next time, we will see you.